Folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. How are my peeps doing today? I trust that you all had a great weekend. I did. I went to the Democratic Party fundraiser, the big fundraiser that the Harris County Democratic Party has every year. But you know what I want to start the show with? I want to start the show with let me see if I can get it done here because I didn't get a chance to do it. Oops, that's not what I want. That's too big. Let's see if I can go ahead and just enlarge it a bit before I get it onto the screen. This is our president, folks. I'm going to introduce everybody, but I want to start with this because this is our president. Or not our president, our former president. So let's check this out and let's see if I can get it going, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let's see, how do I do that? I go like that, and let's try.
But would like to get them out a lot faster. And when you see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
Now, that is what he said in 2017. But guess what? For anybody who sat down and thought, just maybe, that wasn't really what Trump was all about, then, oops, I didn't get to the right screen. I think this is going to be it. Let's see if they have the video on this one. I had it all laid out, and of course, you know how that goes. This is real. This is real time, folks. This is real time. This is real time. This is real time. Let's see if we have it. Para ver. Oh God, I don't have it. But in effect, what he told, he was giving police officers permission to be violent, to have a violent crackdown. I mean, what kind of president do you have that would do this? Let's see if this is the right one that I have here now, the rough hour. I think this is it. Let's go ahead and see if this is it.
There for almost 4 years, and I just keep saying why. I did it during the debate. I killed her in the debate, but I have crooked people. What they do, I had 3-on-1. I didn't even mind that. I still won by a lot. But why? I asked the question. And that David Muir, how about him? I said, how about that guy? Pretty boy. You know, we call him Pretty Boy. That's about it. That's about all. But you know what? I said, crime is at a level like we've never seen. It's rampant. It's rising. Okay. He interrupts me. I'm sorry, sir. Crime in this country has gone down. I said, you know, without looking at numbers, is there anybody in this room that think that crime has gone down? It's gone through the roof, and largely because of migrant crime. It's not only that. You know, in New York, you can't walk into a drugstore now. It's like you're in a prison of glass. If you want to buy aspirin, you have to wait 45 minutes for a clerk to come up and open because what's gone on. And every drugstore, I just lost one. I had a nice tenant. I just lost a tenant. I had a beautiful tenant at 40 Wall Street. I just lost a tenant. They opened a big chain drugstore. Big, beautiful chain. They opened. They were doing such great business. 40 Wall Street right across from the stock exchange. They gave me notice. They said, we're going to have to close because the shelves, the people walk in, they just take everything they want. They walk out of the store. What the hell is going on? See, we have to let the police do their job. And if they have to be extraordinarily rough, And you know the funny thing with all of that stuff, look at the department stores, same thing. They walk into you see these guys walking out with air conditioners, with refrigerators on their back, the craziest thing. And the police aren't allowed to do their job. They're told, if you do anything, you're going to lose your pension, you're going to lose your family, your house, your car. The police want to do it. The Border Patrol wants to do it. Border Patrol, they're incredible. They want to do it. They're not allowed to do it because the liberal left won't let them do it. The liberal left wants to destroy them, and they want to destroy our country. You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example, where when they start walking out with, you know, she created something in San Francisco, $950 you're allowed to steal. Anything above that, you will be prosecuted. Well, it works out that the $950 is a misnomer because you can steal whatever you want, you can go way above. But you'd see, originally you saw kids walk in with calculators. They were calculating. They didn't want to go over the $950. They're standing with calculators, adding it up. You know, these are smart people. They're not so stupid, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, don't touch them, let them rob your store. All these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent, then the city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. Crooked Joe Biden became mentally impaired, sad. But lying Kamala Harris, honestly, I believe.
Now, the reason I played that is this is the former president of the United States. We are a country where we know we have a lot of police brutality. And now we are giving the police carte blanche to go out there and beat up on people like we're a third world country. But it's worse. It is worse. I want to ask every single person listening to me right now, in your particular community, okay? Have you seen anybody running out of stores with refrigerators on their backs? Have you seen any gangs going into these different stores in your particular area? Look, crime is really going down. There are most people that are watching this that never saw a piece of crime in their lives. And Donald Trump is out there in rural America, in urban America, all over talking about this great crime, rampant crime that's occurring. Rampant crime that is occurring. To scare people into believing first, these migrants are coming in as criminals. These people of color are coming in as criminals. And he wants to scare white people so badly so that they say, oh my God, we got to vote for Trump to save us. But ask all of you, have you seen crime in your neighborhood? Have you seen crime anywhere around? It is amazing. The question is whether you will allow your carnal prejudice to come and take hold because some racist like our president or former president attempts to scare you into voting against your own interests. Anyway, I wanted to start the show with this because I thought this was criminal. And the rest of the world, they are looking at this and they're saying, my God, if this guy's to win, you mean this is a guy we're going to have to deal with? Anyhow, welcome aboard. Michael Rutnin is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. Melody Keelan is in the house from Barcelona, Spain. Eric Hayes is in the house from Kingwood, Atascocita. We also have in the house Lee Grant from Montgomery County. We also have in the house with us Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Paul, I hope your part of town, Atlanta, didn't get hit too hard from the hurricane. My God, that little town that I love, that I've never been, but I heard it's great in North Carolina, is really in bad shape. It just about wiped out a whole lot of that, a whole lot of major structures in that town. What is it, North Carolina? The most liberal town in North Carolina. Anyway, Welcome aboard, Alizar Dreams. Welcome aboard. Who else am I missing here? I'm scrolling up, scrolling up. Welcome aboard. Scrolling up. I got Melanie already. Yvette Avery Herod. Hey, Yvette, what are your thoughts on the strike? I want them to strike the hell out of these guys. Let them pay the price if they don't want to pay the workers. Any thoughts on that, Yvette? I'd like to hear if you know anything about it that you want to add. Please give me a call at 281-823-7747. You are our union expert in the chat. 281-823-7747. If you have information, that I quite don't have, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, let's see. We also have Paul Fleming. I think I called you up from Powder Springs. Yes, it's Linda's birthday today, Bridge MCP. Thank you for calling it out. I'll tell her that you wished her a happy birthday. I tell her you wish her a happy birthday. Let's see what else we got. Elon Musk. Oh, let me read the first thing that Michael thought. Trump has lost his mind to the right-wing bubble conspiracy mills, and it's barely being covered by the media. Video in the link. The independent UK Donald Trump bizarrely claimed immigrants have a phone app direct to Kamala Harris during a speech at Trump Towers on Thursday. In his conspiracy-laden remarks, the press at Tower, the former president sought to blame the Biden administration for the migrant crisis. Trump claimed, through her phone app, something totally new now. It's a phone app for migrants, where migrants call in. She's allowed then to press a button and schedule an appointment to be released in the interior of our country. But you know what? We all know that it's crap, right? But those people who follow Donald Trump, they want to believe that. They want to take anything they can hold on to believe. Sad, but true. All right, let's see what else we have here. Paul Fleming says, Elon Musk says criminals vote for Dems overwhelmingly because they're the soft on crime. Ain't he the dude supporting a candidate with 34 felony convictions? Thank you for pointing that out. That is truly a statement of fact. All right, what else have we got here? Biden gets defensive when pushed on who's commanding Hurricane Helen response. The president got testy with a reporter when questioned on the White House. Imagínate eso. Amazing, isn't it? That is amazing. All right, let me go ahead. I need to pull up a program here. Take a watch at what we're doing here. Para ver. ¿Dónde estoy aquí? Okay. Continuing. Biden gets defensive when pushed on who's commanding Hurricane Helen response. Oh my God. The guy has FEMA who does that. And he came and he said, I am going to stay out of the way to make sure that unlike Trump, I won't have a whole lot of Secret Service people that have to stop traffic and all of that impinges on saving lives, impinging on cleaning up, impinges on doing all these things, okay? So Brother Biden is doing the right thing. Donald Trump is out there lying. Donald Trump is also out there saying, oh, they're only taking care of Democratic areas. Another lie. I mean, you guys really can take up his lies. It's amazing. All right, let's continue. Paul Fleming, red states. I don't need no government. Red states after the natural disaster. Where's my check, government? That's a good one, Michael. I mean, a good one, Paul Fleming. All right, let's see what else we have. I think Orange Man is actually sending supplies to the hurricane victims. That's a joke. He doesn't give anything away. He's a thief, a thug, and a selfish piece of you know what. All right, let's go ahead and put something that Bridge MCP wants on the screen. Let's go ahead and get that onto the screen. Bridge, if I can get it onto the... Where is it? Where is it? There we go. Come on, screen. Take it on. All right. I love that. I love that. Me gusta eso perfectamente. It says, everyone's a socialist after a natural disaster. It's funny listening to the governor of Georgia. Begging the government, hey, come and help us. Right? You know, what's his name? The governor of Georgia? Come, please, help us, please, help us, please. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Good one, Bridge. Love it. All right. Paul Fleming says, Trump says he concocted a private sector scheme to avoid paying his own employees overtime compensation. Wow. I love that. Is that a video from May? How long is that video? Let's see. Oh, too long, 11 minutes. But wow, I love that. I love that. That needs to be placed on a meme. All right, let's see what else we got. Michael Rodney says, breach the yearly socialist tradition of southern states underfunding their disaster relief programs, then begging the government for assistance after they have hurricane or flood. Exactly. All right, what else have we got here? I'm scrolling down, folks. I'm scrolling. Paul Fleming says, did Reaganism contain seeds of Trumpism? Yes. I wrote about that 2 weeks ago. Max Boot asked in his new book, Reagan, His Life and Legend. Oh man, did you guys miss my article on that? Paul Fleming, aren't you a subscriber of Politics Done Right's newsletter, Egberto Off the Record? I would hope that you are, because I think, if I recall correctly, I covered that. When was that? When did I cover that? I covered that para ver, a few weeks ago. With I'm pretty sure it was a few weeks ago. Let me see if I have the video. Booth. Let's see if I have that video to show you. Max, maybe. No, I don't. I don't have the. I don't know how I indexed it. But yeah, I spoke about that. It's a new book that he wrote. It's a good book that he wrote. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Rodney says, Lee, are you happy about that? You know, the purge is basically about Americans killing each other because they can't deal with their differences and can't act democratically. Thank you for making that clarification. These guys don't realize how evil their guy really, really is. All right, continuing. Michael says, I haven't seen crime much at all, but my personal experience is not representative of crime rates. I know that crime rates have been going down since the 1990s. It has been going down. And not only that, right? Crime is very localized. Very, very localized. All right, Yvette Avery Harris says, still dealing with this situation today. The evacuation area is less than a mile from my house. Wow. The way notifications came through were horribly late. Okay, thanks for that. Coinier's chemical plant fire air quality. Oh, wow. Sorry to hear about what's affecting. Yeah, I read about that fire. Asheville, that's the name of the town. Asheville, exactly. Alizarin Dream says, no, Summerwood is safe. During COVID, the catalytic converters were being stolen, but that was on Trump's watch. Yeah, I mean, all these areas are safe, right? I mean, very little problems. Okay, Ivry says, Yvette, Egberto, so sorry, a large plume sits in the sky above Conyers following the evacuation of about 17,000 people due to the chemical plant fire, and several Atlanta counties report a haze and chemical smell Monday morning. Fulton officials said they are investigating a haze and strong chemical smell. Actually, it's chlorine that's in the air, and that can really burn up your lungs, so you guys have to be careful with that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Lee Grant says, cops pull people over for meth possession around here all the time. Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you something, right? And how did they get meth? Anyway, that's a long story, Lee Grant. But I have a lot to say. Thank you for telling Linda happy birthday, Billy Allison Irwin. All right, what else have we got here? Yvette says, definitely down for the strike of the dock workers. Whoop, whoop. I agree. They deserve their fair wages and job protection, especially after these guys have been making record profits. Yvette also says, are you a dock worker or in another industry, to Bill Allison? All right, continue. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Rudnin said, Paul Pullman says, Project 2025 calls for an expansion of capital punishment, including for crimes beyond murder, but it's not actually the bad guys that get it, says Professor Paul Butler, noting that death penalty historically biased implementation inside of Project 2025, as per Velshi. All right, Michael Rudnin says, whenever a politician goes to a disaster zone in order to take a photo op, they take resources away from the relief effort in order to get a protection detail, and conservatives fall for it every single time. Exactly. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yvette says, I will do whatever necessary to support workers who make sure life is better for us. Whoop. We know that about you, sis. We know that about you. Paul Fleming says, Governor Kemp, that's the name I forgot. Governor Kemp came out and said that the president called him to see what the state needed and to call him directly if he needed anything else. In the wake of Hurricane Helen's destruction, Donald Trump is eager to spread rumors about President Biden's inaction. The problem is, at least one Republican politician on the front lines is willing to call Trump out on this. Exactly, but even Kemp has already said, oh, it's Kemp they're talking about. Got it. Got it. Let me put that story on the screen. Let's go ahead and put that story on the screen. So maybe Eric would start, given all the misinformation that Brother Eric puts out there, maybe he'll echo this one where Kemp says what? That Donald Trump has really, or rather, the President Biden has really come through for him. Read it because he said it. Let's see if this is where he said it or not.
So I just spoke. The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that. But
all right. So let's be clear here, folks. Governor Kemp, Republican from Atlanta, from Georgia, points out that the president called him and say, hey, Kemp, what do you need? I am here to help. And not only that, Kemp called him right back, got through to him. They had a conversation. Donald Trump lied on national TV after this and said that they couldn't reach the president. He lied. When are you going to call him out on that, Eric? When are you going to call him out on that, Paul? On that, Ryan? When are you going to call that back on him? All of you who continuously support this guy, when will you hold your thug accountable? Please let me know. When will you hold your thug accountable? I want to know. I really want to know when you're going to hold your thug accountable. All right, Michael Conrad says, Eric, a progressive would call for assistance whenever they see someone in distress. The ones that laugh are your own, as if it's not yet another accusation in the mirror. Again, it's called reflection, or actually not reflection, projection. Paul Pullman says, my daughter volunteered through her company to go to North Carolina to help feed people in distress. Thank you, Paul. Your daughter is a reflection of you. And that speaks very well of you. Now, if you were a Trump voting person, somebody who's voting for somebody who holds women by their crutches, and you said you're going to vote for him, I would have to say, what does your daughter think about you? Because your daughter may not tell you, but if you have a daughter and your daughter knows you're voting for Trump, believe me, you have dropped several notches in the eyes of your daughter, and that would be deserving. All right. Thank you for that one, Paul, for raising raising a hell of a daughter, my dear brother. Paul Fleming says, the New York Times endorsement is sadly anticlimactic. In saner political times, they had real impact, but their constant false equivalences between Harris and Trump, made more obvious by their excoriation of Trump today, are confirmed as not only poor journalism, but total hypocrisy. Oh, wait, did they endorse Kamala? I didn't even see that. All right. Yeah, but you're right about that. Who the hell cares about the New York Times, right? Hey, Patrick Lavelle, how you doing, my brother? He says, financial crime throws people out of their homes, destroys their pensions, and causes suicide. That is so true, brother. That is so true. Eric Hayes, 2025 debunked and rejected. That just shows you how gullible you are, my brother. I mean, imagine this. Trump just called out how to deal with criminals. Guess where that is? Project 2025. Trump called out how to deal with with what they call the administrative state. Guess where that is? Project 2025. And then you have the nerve to say, oh, Project 2025 debunked and rejected. You see why they say Trump like a certain kind of people? A kind of people that don't do their research, a kind of people that believe whatever he says unabashedly. That's what we're talking about, folks. That's what we're talking about. Eric, my brother Eric, please keep coming. But I honestly feel for you. Paul Fleming says, Rudy Giuliani's daughter, Caroline Giuliani, endorsed Kamala Harris. She said that Trump took her father away from her. Yeah, Trump has a way of doing that. And look at what he has done to Hayes, our brother Hayes here. He's going to vote for somebody who rapes women. He's going to vote for somebody who holds women by their crutches. He's going to vote for somebody who stole money from employees instead of paying them. He's going to vote for somebody who ripped people off with a Trump university that was no university. But he's going to vote for them. Again, very good point. All right, let's see what else we got. Paul Fleming says, during President Donald Trump's administration, EPA scientists said they are managers encourage them to delete evidence of chemical harms, including cancer, miscarriage, and neurological problems from their reports. And in some cases, they said their managers deleted information themselves. Let me tell you, it's worse. That is government, right? You know all those hurricanes that went through Florida where people lost their roofs, etc.? I don't know how many of you watched 60 Minutes last night, but 60 Minutes after the adjuster said, your house needs a new roof. Your house is $220,000. The insurance company got an inside adjuster to fake the name, or rather fake the report, and reduce sometimes $200,000 to $13,000. When we talk about the criminality of the corporations and to some extent the corporate state, that's what we're talking about. All right, let's continue here. My nephew is there in Asheville with New York Power Company. Hey, tell your nephew that we honor his service because at this point in time, he is our hero. Mike C doesn't understand that progressive actually believe that government can be good. Government can be good. Government must be good. Government is we the people. And anybody who thinks government isn't good is lazy because they're not doing what's necessary to make government good. It's why I said that a progressive would call for assistance. The whole Reagan, I am here for the government and I'm here to help, was such a messed up tagline. You know, but you can't trust Reagan for anything. Yes, they endorsed her in an op-ed. Wow, that is, I didn't read the New York Times this morning. Patrick Lavelle says, folks get the truth being withheld by Elon. And you know what else Elon seems to be doing? He seems to be saturating the internet and ensuring that everybody sees his posts. When I post, my posts are throttled on Twitter, even though I'm paying, I think, $14.90 a month to Twitter. And I know I'm getting throttled. I'm thinking about just getting rid of paying the bill. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Bree says, nah, let Eric Mike go. Filing the feed with BS. I hope never, whatever they hate and blame on happen to them. Tenfold sorry. You know what? Unfortunately, they're not going to see the evil that Trump would have brought if he won because Trump is not going to win. And what they're going to get is they're going to get good stuff. And unfortunately, they will find every bad they can find in it. Michael says, Patrick, is Elon Musk doing another round of beginning users who release uncomfortable information, banning users who release? Yes, they have. In fact, the guy who went ahead and put a link to his Substack that had the dossier from JD Vance, he got banned. Okay. He put a link to his Substack that had a copy of the dossier, a word, and it was a fact-based dossier, right? And he went ahead and suspended them. So yeah, they're doing that. Oh, that's a guy, Ken Clifford. That's the guy who leaked the JD Vance document. I actually have the document. I just am not putting it up because again, God knows what they'll cut down on me. All right, Paul Fleming says, I passed a Mexican restaurant with a huge Trump 2024 sign. This type of stuff boggles my mind every day. You're a small business and you're Mexican and you're supporting him. Are you all okay? Is everything all right at home? He made it very clear that he despises anyone is even a child of an immigrant. Mexicans for Trump is like saying slugs for salt and is alarming. The same goes for black people for Trump. Okay? Same goes for women for Trump. You've got to be crazy. You've got to have a mental deficiency. But let me explain. First of all, it is mostly Latino men. And you have to understand prejudice. And you also have to understand that Latinos is not a race. You have a lot of Latinos that are fair-skinned. And in Latin culture, let me give you a little bit about Latin culture. Latinos are everybody. Black, white, Chinese, Indian, Muslim, Christian, all of those people make up the Latin ethnic group. The only thing that makes Latin Latin is that we come from a Spanish-speaking country. There's another thing that makes us Latinos, right? In Latinos, we don't talk about race, but we act on race, right? In other words, I'm a black Latino. You know, I have Chinese Latinos, Spanish Latino, white Latinos, etc. Interestingly, if you look at our census and all these other things, we don't talk about race. We like to call our places, we don't have those problems, but we do. Because if you go ahead and look at the society is, the upper classes in the society, like anywhere else, is pretty damn white. Just white people speaking Spanish. Blue-eyed, blonde, white people speaking Spanish. And the difference, though, is there's a whole lot more intermixing where we are from than here in America. So you get a lot of gradations of shades. So what you have a lot of in our part of the world is colorization. So we will say things like, mira mi negra, or moreno, given the different shades of, and it almost has a sweetness to it as we describe each other in different shades. And it has a certain amount of, I don't even know how to express it because, it is not among the population in the aggregate. You don't have a lot of the heavy racism that you have over here. But in the ruling class, right? And I'm talking about, if you take a look at Bermudez, or Torrijos, or all our presidents, except for Noriega, most of them were fairly fair-skinned, mostly white. Arnulfo Arias Calderon, all of I'm talking Panama now, these were white men who ran countries like Panama and Chile and all these things. The only ones that really got severe disrespect are people, whenever we had a non-white ruler in Latin America. Let me give an example, so I'm not just BSing you. When Noriega came, Noriega didn't get the respect because Noriega is a mixed up dude with black, Indian, all that kind of stuff. Noriega didn't get the kudos that Torrijos got, who we actually signed the Panama Canal Treaty with. He was treated with more respect, right? The same thing occurred in Venezuela, right? They excoriated Hugo Chavez. What's the difference between Hugo Chavez and Carlos Andrés Pérez? You see different treatments depending on who became in power in these Latin American countries. Look at the president of Uruguay. Uruguay. When it was an indigenous person that became the president, oh my God! Understand the history. So let me bring that back to my brother Paul Paul Manning here. What you're seeing with those Mexicans, etc., that have that stuff, I am for Trump, is what's known as attachment to whiteness or proximity to whiteness. They know that Donald Trump is a racist. They know that when you see Mexicans for Donald Trump, you will see that they come and join him. It is that proximity thing. And Fleming says, I think another reason that Hispanic men are voting for Trump is they work in construction, which are mostly owned by white men. So they're voting their paycheck while most Hispanic women go to college. No, trust me in what I'm telling you here. This is my folk. I know the Latino culture. It has nothing to do with worker. They'll keep their mouth shut before they say something, Brother Paul. This has absolutely everything to do with proximity to whiteness, and what they want to do is proximity to whiteness and anti-woman. Those two things. It is sexism and proximity to whiteness. That I'm not. And by the way, this is not a question that I'm asking. This is a statement that I'm making. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Newsweek, it includes information that said Vance was one of the chief obstructionists to the U.S. efforts to providing assistance to Ukraine, as well as having criticized public health experts and elected officials for support Black Lives Matter protests while condemning anti-lockdown. Yep. Michael says, Egberto, it's worth picking a few things from the document to reshare. Yeah, I thought about it. I'm still going through my journalistic, because I know that it's a stolen document from the thing. I rather talking about it. I don't know if I got to think about that. I really have to think about it, Eric. I mean, not Eric, Rodnin. I just read some of it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. All right, yeah. I didn't want to just come out and say, just hurry up and put it out there. I wanted to make sure. I needed to think through my journalistic integrity before I just jump and put things out like that. So I'll think about that. All right, let's see. Michael Ren says, Lee, Kamala is going to win. You might enjoy what happens next. We progressives are going to push Kamala for living wages, universal health care, infrastructure investment, other benefits for the people. Listen to Michael. That's exactly right. After Kamala wins, we're not giving her a break. We're going after the policies that we have always stood for. All right, let's see. Eddie Nart says, so I guess the door is open for any citizen to run for presidency with multiple convictions. Are we missing something here? Actually, you're not missing something. We have a sect in this country that are willing to put somebody in office that's a criminal, that holds women by their crutches, and they don't mind it. They don't even feel embarrassed by it. And that boggles my mind, right? They're not even embarrassed by it, brother Eddie Nart. It boggles my mind. All right, Stagen Bergen Greek says, how do you mean prepare mentally, physically, buy a gun? I don't believe in guns, but hey, what can I say? Eddie, history is going to show Trump's run as an aberration where half the country lost their damned mind. Please don't say half the country, Michael. We're talking about 33% of the country, not half the country. Even when Trump won, I mean, he lost by 3 million votes. And when we beat him with Biden, he lost by near 8 million votes. Let's be clear here. It's not half the country. And the non-voters, the non-voting public, they definitely weren't Trumpsters. All right, let's continue here. Who was president in 2020, Mike? Donald Trump. And they did a terrible job with the hurricane in Puerto Rico, right? All right. Bree says, Egberto Willies, I think Hispanics voting for Trump is the same as you overcoming homophobia, meaning they have a strong man thinking going on and think Trump is one. Hope you get my drift. I get your drift perfectly. That's why I said sexism is part of it. But proximity to whiteness breach is extremely important to understand why you have some women that they just discard Kamala Harris and says otherwise. Listen to MSNBC, that interview that they did with this woman where she said, I am 100%, this is a Mexican woman. I'm 100% voting for Trump. After all, I love the economy. Then what SHIT did she do anyway? And then when you look at the policies that actually supported them after the pandemic and continues to do that, come on now, you have to be cuckoo to not understand that. But I blame the mainstream media a lot of times because they don't correct. And in fact, I tell you what, let me pause here because I want to talk about a journalist. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. The New Yorker staff writer Susan Glasser had some statements that finally, I hope, other journalists listen to. I mean, first of all, she points out the reality that, Trump is always, Kamala Harris is always, or she implied, Kamala Harris is always being asked for specific, and the other side given the impression that Donald Trump somehow usually comes out and talk to the journalists and gives them what he plans to do, etc. Well, I want you to listen to this, and then I'll speak on it a bit after, because what she says was a subtle slam on not only Trump, but also journalism from the mainstream media. Check this out.
To the point about the interviews, and it's fascinating to see how effective Vance and Trump's campaign has been at getting across the idea, well, they don't answer tough questions. And this, Tom Emmer said it again, well, we should just talk about the issues. I'm really struck by that because what is it that Donald Trump
bring up the pets, the eating pets.
But what is it
JD Vance brought it up, Donald Trump brought it up.
And what is it that they say when they, quote, talk about the issues? Like Donald Trump's policy position is, I'm going to wave my magic wand and all the problems of the world are going to go away. The idea that there is a substantive, issues-based policy that is coming out of these interactions with, largely on Trump's case, the pro-Trump media and his rallies is just a fallacy. His policy in Ukraine is, I will wave my magic wand and in 24 hours, the war will be over. His policy on the economy is, I will impose massive tariffs on everything. And then just as if, some kind of amazing scenario has come to pass, the economy will be great. But countries' economies will fold.
Now, you heard what she said, and she's very accurate on that, right? Donald Trump comes out and he says, I am going to stop the war between Ukraine and Russia when I come in on the first day. But he doesn't really say what makes him believe that he could do that. If I was president, Israel would not have been in the war in Gaza or with Hezbollah. Really? What examples do you have to show that makes that true? Oh, I'm going to solve the economy and everything is going to be okay with tariffs. Really? So, in effect, the mainstream media asks Kamala Harris to come out and give specifics of what do you plan to do, and she does. And then they said, we need more. We need more specifics. But you have Donald Trump pulling crap out of the air as far as what he's going to be able to do. Stop 2 wars. Bring back an economy that he never really had, right? Again, the problem with the media is the following. The he said, she said mainstream media does not work anymore. But it's even worse than that. Because the mainstream media, for the fear of not being called liberal or progressives, usually get their talking points from the right wing. So the right wing starts to say, Kamala is not doing an interview and she's not speaking to the media. And she doesn't have policy specifics. And they take up that. And then instead of saying, okay, we've got these specifics from Kamala, what do you have to offer Donald Trump? No, they leave it there. Donald Trump will be Donald Trump. 2 different standards, right? But it's even worse. Donald Trump comes out and says, the economy was better under my administration, right? And the mainstream media repeats, Donald Trump says his economy was better under his administration. And after Donald Trump has told millions of people that, and because they have just gone through an inflation that was mostly caused by his mismanagement of COVID, which gave the plutocracy, the corporatocracy, the corporations an excuse for greedflation, meaning raise prices even as supply chains improved, even as many of the price increases had nothing to do with supply chain, just out of greed. But again, they made that message cauterized into people's mind. The mainstream media allowed it to happen, right? And so you go and you ask anybody, what is the most important thing for you? The economy. And, well, you know, we want to go back to the days when the economy was doing better, when we didn't have inflation. And how do you want to do that? Well, maybe through Donald Trump, because under Donald Trump. But wait a minute. Donald Trump administration is the one that mismanaged COVID. That then caused a crash in employment, that then caused a crash in the economy, that then was the genesis of inflation. And that's what you want to go back to, somebody who doesn't have the ability, somebody who has constantly run their companies into bankruptcy, somebody who has the morals of, well, likely the worst person on the planet, someone who attacks women. That's who you would settle for, because you really buy into the fallacy that the mainstream media has not corrected effectively, that somehow it has been better under Trump. I mean, a few days ago, I pointed out that even Carter, the president that has had to deal with the oil embargo, the president that had to deal with stagflation, all induced again by bad policies previous, right? Even Carter's economy did better on the GDP level than Donald Trump. But yes, people would continue to say, well, maybe the economy was better, because the short memory of what he represented, and of course, the inflation that the pain of inflation that they're feeling and looking for a solution. Well, one of the things that we talk about a lot is why critical thinking is so important. Because when you're not a critical thinker, you can listen to Donald Trump says, I'll end the war. And you say, I'm going to vote for him because he's going to end the war. I am going to fix the economic problem by adding a lot of tariffs for China to pay. Oh, I'm going to vote for Trump because he's going to make China pay those tariffs. Again, not realizing that everything that Donald Trump is talking about is going to cost you more. You're going to pay for it, and his friends, the billionaire class, will continue to get rewarded, because that cut, I mean, that tariff is just there to collect money for them to cut taxes for those people on the top. We have to start critically thinking, folks. Glasser, thank you for at least giving us a small modicum of truth here.
We spend a lot.
Recently, Pelosi's former communications director, Ashley Etienne, met with Scott Jennings, a GOP commentator on the CNN program, right? And she came out and she said, we've never seen a vice presidential candidate so malign a ticket as JD Vance has done for Donald Trump. Well, guess what? The commentator decided to say, Scott Jennings decided to say, well, Mr. Walz, the vice presidential candidate for Kamala Harris, is a buffoon. He doesn't even know how to answer questions. In fact, they keep him away from the press. And he was there attacking. And I want you to see how Etienne handled him, because she did it perfectly with a smile.
There's never been a time that I can recall before now where the vice presidential picks have been so consequential to the actual top of the ticket. You look at JD Vance was supposed to somehow expand Donald Trump's reach. Instead, he actually has done more damage, harm than good. But you look at Governor Walz, the reason why smart pick, the reason why he was picked is to bridge that cultural divide, to reach out to constituencies that the Democratic Party's had problems, reaching moderate Republicans, disaffected Republicans, independent Republicans. He's signaling to a constituency that you can vote for this ticket. So he's incredibly consequential to Kamala Harris.
I heard a chortle from your friend Scott Jennings over here.
I'm sorry. What's what you expect from Scott?
What are you chortling about?
Oh, well, first of all, I don't find them to be consequential. Second of all, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy, he's the only school teacher in America who brags that none of his students can get into an Ivy League school. He's had one consequential press interaction with our Dana Bash, who asked him about the fabrications in his own resume. And his answer was essentially, me no understand words good. I mean, he's a buffoon. He's on a free ride for running under Harris. He gets very little press. They don't let him talk to the press for a reason. I want one thing out of this debate. I want JD Vance to go out there and get under his skin. He has legendary hot, short temper. A lot of governors do, but apparently he does. I want JD Vance to go out there and have him explain why he is denigrating JD Vance's story. Small town America ends up making something better out of his life, which is something we should want for every kid.
What I hope Walz will do is to use JD Vance's words against him. Remember, he used to tell the truth about Donald Trump. He called him America's Hitler. He said he thoroughly failed to deliver on an economic plan, that he's a cultural heroine. So that's what I expect him to do, which is to make this point about JD Vance. You can't trust this guy. He's a fraud. Now he's singing a different tune. He's just like Donald Trump. You can't trust him.
So one thing I just want to bring up on the same topic is that for whatever reason, Tim Walz has a notably higher positive favorability rating than Vance does.
So yeah, it turns out that the person that Donald Trump chose as his vice presidential candidate is one of the people that has had the most negative statements against Donald Trump himself. So therefore, it turns out that Tim Walz can spend all night simply repeating, well, JD, I think the same way that you used to think about Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a baby Hitler. I think Donald Trump is, that's right, his economy was in shambles. I think Donald Trump all he has to do is repeat what JD Vance tweeted, told friends, etc., to simply make it clear that this guy is nothing but someone that cannot be trusted, because he will do whatever it takes for power, even going against what he knows is right. Ashley Etienne, you did a great job. This guy came out. Scott Jennings came out. He was very cocky in the way he's going to say Tim Walz is some sort of a buffoon. And Ashley Etienne, with a smile, just laid it out. And that's all needed to be said. That's all that was needed to be said. I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope Linda enjoys her day. She will. Actually, we're going to take her out next weekend. This weekend, I had a whole lot of Democratic stuff to do, so I couldn't take her out this weekend, but I'll be doing it next weekend, Yvette. Hey, Patrick Lavelle, your truths in our chat was very much appreciated, my brother. We must have you on the show. New interview. I hope you have some new material that we can talk about. You just drop me a text or something. Tell me when you're available so we can get some new stuff out there, my brother. All right, folks, we are near the end of the program. So you know what time it is. It is time for me to start saying, folks, I need you to support the program. Go ahead and please go ahead and get our books. Our books, I guarantee you would learn a lot from our books. How can you get our books? You can go to politicsdoneright.com/books. politicsdoneright.com/books. How can you support our show? You can go to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. But you know what? If you want to support the show and read our books for free, guess what? It is easy, easy, easy. Just become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And if you can't become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, please encourage others to become paid subscribers of the newsletter. you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and say, hey, there is this political activist with a radio show, TV show, books, articles, and all of that that's doing the work to make sure that the progressive message gets out there, to make sure that we get things done. Please subscribe to be a paid subscriber to make sure he's funded by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Thank you for being a monthly supporter, my dear brother Patrick Lavelle. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, and you know what you get out of that, folks? You get to read all our books online. And how is that gonna happen? Let me give you an example of how that happens, folks. You just go, if you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, you go ahead and let me put it on the screen. That is what it looks like. And if you're a paid subscriber, you can even click on this link that says My Books. And there you can see my books that you saw me advertise. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative, Friends, and Neighbor. And of course, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, my story, and the tribulations I've went through because of my hue. So folks, please consider supporting us by becoming a paid member at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Many ways to support the program. Anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. I want to tell you, love you all. Thank you all for being here. Yes, Bridge, I'm a bad, bad boy, but she forgives me because she knows I have all these things that we just got to get it done, right? We got to win. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.